What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today once again, of course, we've got a bunch of topics to discuss for Destiny 2 and things happening right now inside the game, and the Forsaken DLC just under 2 months away. So we're going to be talking about how Bungie dropped a massive either tease or a massive troll to do the big Forsaken raid we're getting, also how Siva's been spotted and could be a thing we see introduced. We also have our first gameplay of new supers being used inside the game, which is pretty interesting, so first person shots. And on top of that, some more random topics to do with Prince Uldren, a loot buff, an unobtainable exotic catalyst, and a special event. So lots of stuff in this one video. Of course, if you want to support this channel, you can do so by hitting the like button down below. It's much appreciated. And with that being said, let's jump into it. So let's talk about something pretty interesting that Bungie said, which could be a massive troll or could be an actual tease about some real information of the big Forsaken raid. So the funny thing is that Joe Blackburn, who if you don't know is a Bungie developer, he is the lead designer on the new Forsaken raid, so he is pretty much in charge of what's going on with it. Joe put out a tweet saying, so Holtzman is now asking if he can get the final Forsaken raid boss on his tattoo, but I don't want people pantsing him for spoilers, and I also think she's way too pretty to go where that tattoo is going. If you don't know, this is a tattoo he has to get because of the GuardianCon charity stream as a donation incentive. So he's getting a tattoo and he's asking if he can get the final Forsaken raid boss on it, and Joe Blackburn is saying, I think she's too pretty to be on this tattoo. So from this tweet, most people now have the assumption that the Queen of the Reef, Marasov, is going to be the final Forsaken raid boss. Obviously, she is the only person that fits this kind of category. Also, like I was saying in my latest video, we are pretty much going to kill Prince Uldren, and I really can't see her being okay with that. So I think she's going to be an enemy at some point. I see no situation where the Queen is just cool with us after us killing her brother. Now, at the same time, while this does obviously make a lot of sense, I wouldn't read too much into this, and I honestly don't think he's being completely serious. I think it's kind of a joke, kind of a bit of a troll. Obviously, everyone is kind of guessing and speculating who is the final raid boss, and this is pretty much giving it away. If he was being serious, then this would literally be him just spoiling his own raid, and he is probably the last person at Bungie that wants any info of this raid spoiled. Honestly, I think the pretty part is just sarcasm, and he could be talking about Savathun or some kind of weird hive-taken creature, which obviously would not be considered pretty. On top of that, Bungie aren't normally that predictable when it comes to raids and raid stories and bosses, so there's normally a lot of twists and weird stuff going on, and this raid, I would imagine, is no different. So I still think while the Queen is the most likely and makes the most sense to be the final raid boss, I think someone else like Savathun or some other creature or enemy we don't know of is a lot more likely. The only part of this tweet we can take seriously is that whatever the boss is, it's a she, so it could be Savathun, it could be the Queen, it could be Eris Morn or Tess Everest. Is going to be some kind of female boss. But once again, speculate it down below. Who do you think this boss is going to be? Do you think this tweet is a troll, or do you think it's being serious? Let me know all your thoughts down below. Now, I also wanted to talk about this shot, which of course is Prince Uldren, and this is from a brand new trailer from Bungie about the dark narrative of Forsaken. This I saw from a lot of tweets and comments, got a lot of people confused about what's going on with his face. Why has he got this weird kind of energy, almost taken energy flowing over it? In terms of the reason he has that weird energy flowing over his face, that's actually normal, believe it or not, for any Awoken. They all have that kind of weird glowy skin. So if you look at any Awoken character or even your own Guardian, if you have one, you'll see this kind of white glowing mystical energy flowing over their skin all the time. It is very subtle, but it's actually just a thing for Awoken. So it's nothing special for Uldren. It's just because the lighting is very, very dark. It's the only thing you can see. Now, in terms of this scene itself, I also saw a lot of questions and confusion about where this takes place and what's going on here. So this, funnily enough, is actually the scene where he kills Cade. I believe this is literally the second right before he pulls the trigger, but this is the exact same scene in game. It is pretty confusing, but that trailer that we saw released during E3 that kind of revealed that Cade is going to die, the one that pans around, that isn't actually what shows in game. This is the real kind of scene of where he dies. That trailer, I guess, is just for cinematic purposes to make it dramatic and something to show online, but of course, this is the first mission, the one that I played at E3 in the Prison of Elders, and this is the ending of it. Of course, it wasn't the full mission, so there's a lot of context missing. We don't know where he came from, why he's doing this, why Cade was beaten up, or really what happened right before this scene. But yeah, just wanted to clear up some confusion about where the scene comes from and what's actually going on here. This is the actual in-game scene, the moment when K6 dies. So next up, I want to talk about GuardianCon and how because of it, Bungie actually released some new info on the next update early. So of course, GuardianCon, like I've mentioned, is running a week-long charity marathon stream with donations and incentives to kind of hit certain goals. So while Giggs was streaming, DMG, who of course is one of Bungie's community managers, basically said the more the stream raises, the more info I'm going to drop on this update, and sure enough, he did. So because of the GuardianCon charity stream, he then tweeted out a bunch of patch notes and details of things coming soon in the next update, which of course is next Tuesday, 1.23. I'd say the most interesting thing is a change to the escalation protocol weapons and their RNG, so they're probably the rarest weapons in the entire game, but starting next Tuesday, the more Wave 7 final bosses you defeat, the greater your chances are of getting the weapon, which of course is featured. So currently the odds of getting a weapon is very rare, it's around 5%, 5%, so I'm not sure how much it's going to increase it by. The amount the RNG increases could cap out at 10%, it could cap out 100%, we don't know exactly. I'm hoping they don't go overboard and the weapons become crazily easy to get. I personally have done like 30 encounters and I have 0 weapons. Honestly, for me, that shotgun is kind of like the Galahorn. I really want it. It's really powerful, but it's really hard to get. It's also, as we know, impossible to please everyone. So I'm sure some people want it to be more rare. Some people want it to be even less rare. Let me know what you guys think down below, but it should be interesting to see how much these odds do change. Something else pretty interesting is that in the next Iron Banner, so not this one, the control flag is going to be changed to the fire pits from the Iron Temple. Obviously a visual thing, but there's physically going to be 3 fire pits on each map instead of flags, which is pretty funny. They're also going to be releasing the previously inaccessible Sturm Catalyst, and this is going to be from defeating enemies on Nessus. Of course, Sturm is the Nessus exotic, so it makes sense, but that is going to be how you get the Catalyst. You'll also be able to preview a Sparrow's spawn effect or the trail when you inspect a Sparrow in the menu. Probably the most hated modifier in Destiny 2, Momentum, is going to be removed from Heroic Adventures. All of the forged weapons are going to be available for direct purchase from Vance if you've obtained them all, and then they're also adding commas for big numbers on the leaderboards and fixing a recall bug for the West of Sunfall and a Cold Sweat hand cannons. Now, I also wanted to talk about Guardian Con itself, of course, as well as the streams. There's also the big event happening this weekend in Florida. I'm actually going to be attending again this year. There's going to be tons of YouTubers and streamers you watch from Destiny and loads of other games all going there, and also, of course, companies have booths. So Bungie have a Destiny booth where you can play Forsaken at Gambit early, the same as E3. Literally anyone can queue up and play Gambit early, so it's definitely a very cool thing as well. So if you're near Tampa, Florida this weekend, it's definitely worth going. Of course, I'll link all the tickets and info down below in the description while they're available. I'll also link my Instagram down below in the description. Make sure you follow me if you don't already. I always forget to mention I have one, but when I go to events, I always post pictures and stories so you can see what I get up to. So whether you're planning to come meet me at the event or if you just want to see what happens from home, again, follow my Instagram, it's down below in the description. So next up, let's talk about some new Forsaken gameplay that Game Informer captured while at Bungie. This is our first look at some of the patrol activities on the Tangled Shore. Of course, this is kind of basic patrol area of Forsaken, the other one being the Dreaming City, which is the endgame location. So we saw a new public event, which was actually a pod from the Prison of Elders with an escaped fugitive inside it. Honestly, the event from this gameplay doesn't look too exciting. It's literally just a knight, a bullet sponge, you shoot him, he dies, nothing interesting happens. I mean, at one point the floor kind of freezes you and does a bit of damage, but really nothing interesting happens at all. It's just the knight you eventually kill slowly. I think it would be cool if he was like an actual fugitive and if he was literally running around the map, you had to chase him down and hunt him down. So I'm hoping the heroic version is a lot more exciting because this honestly looks pretty ordinary. Now, some more interesting things that we actually could see were some new supers in action. So we can see the Arc Strider where he twirls around the staff. This can deflect things. Wasn't really used in the best fashion because the knight wasn't shooting at him, but this is what it looks like. And of course, you can use it in tandem with the regular super. So you can run around and do the normal Arc Strider and also deflect at the same time. It doesn't kind of change the super. There's also the new Warlock Stormcaller super, which is the massive kind of beam coming out the hands. This can actually be paused, so you can conserve energy, I believe. Not exactly sure the details on how it works, but you can see this Warlock does it here and he's kind of blasting the knight for a good while. And then probably like 30 seconds later, he's using it again. So it wasn't because he had a bunch of orbs. He's able to pause the super and then activate it again somehow. Now, there's also a look at some lost sectors, which again isn't too interesting. They're just lost sectors really. Nothing fantastic or dramatically different. The loot from these things is still very uninteresting, so it's just a blue item. But I did notice the actual item itself is very, very cool. This is actually one of those cloaks that doesn't have a hood. So it's the same ones from Destiny 1, which were in the original game as kind of white items and eventually came as kind of legendary infusible ones. And as far as I'm aware, I don't think we have any hoodless cloaks in Destiny 2 so far. So this appears to be them returning, which is pretty cool. And I'm assuming there'd be legendary versions as well that are infusible. Another super that we also get to see for the very first time is the new Gunslinger one, which is basically like spinning a bunch of fiery blades everywhere. So I guess it's kind of like a Nova Bomb, but with fiery explosive knives instead. Now, something else very interesting you can see in this location is actually the Siva logo. So in this shot, as he pans around, you can see right there, that is actually the Siva logo. If you don't know, it's actually tilted a little bit, but that is the exact same icon. The question is if it's going to be seen in the DLC or some other time. This lost sector in itself doesn't look like a very Siva inspired place, so I'm not sure why it's here, but it obviously has some significance, I'm sure. And I would expect it's probably around some other places in the Tangled Shore as well, but Siva logos are popping up, which is pretty interesting. They don't appear anywhere else in Destiny 2. As I've covered before ages ago in videos, we do have a bunch of scannables and Easter eggs and kind of hints about Siva. It was supposed to be inside Destiny 2 initially. Fun fact, the Exodus crash strike on Nessus, that was supposed to be Siva, so things did get changed in development. And also lore-wise, there is actually actually Siva on the Exos crash ship. So there's some loaded on there somewhere. Not sure if it's been contained or broken out or stolen, but there is Siva somewhere in Destiny 2. We don't know if it's going to be appearing though. Obviously, with this being a Fallen expansion, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it somewhere, but comment down below, do you think it's going to appear or do you think it's just an Easter egg? The last thing we see though does actually look like a very interesting Lost Sector for the first time. It's actually pretty cool looking. This is basically a saloon kind of like dungeon. It's a very strange arena, but it's basically where the Fallen, this kind of Fallen boss dude, has a bunch of different enemies to fight each other in this kind of pit. So there's a bunch of Cabal dogs that are like locked up in cages. You've also got this kind of arena where enemies are fighting against each other, which you interrupt. And then once you defeat the enemies, the boss comes out of his room and you defeat him. So it's a pretty cool looking Lost Sector. And once again, this stuff is from Game Informer, so I'll link their coverage down below in the description. But that's going to do it for today's video. As always, if you enjoyed it, a like rating down below is massively appreciated, helps support the channel. If you're new to this channel and want to make sure you don't miss out my videos, then of course you can subscribe down below, and of course follow my Instagram and Twitter in the description as well. In the meantime though, click this image on screen right now to watch my latest Destiny 2 video. But as always, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.